Chapter 12. Asra is the first to recover. "What are we supposed to do with this thing?" she demands, throwing her arms at it. "It's not like we can keep it." "Well, of course we cannot keep it," Rosner agrees. "It is a dragon, not to mention a black dragon." The beast tries to stand as they bicker. Underneath its paws, pieces of smoking eggshell slide across the ground, sweeping its feet from under it and tossing the creature on its side. It wiggles around on the ground for a while before it finds its feet again. Next to him, Rosner sees his sister watch the dragon as well. A small smile plays on his lips. The creature is surprisingly cute. Can such a beast truly be as bad as the stories? "As for what to do with it," Rosner says absently, "I do not know." A few seconds go by before the dragon attempts to stand again. It slowly raises a paw and hovers it over an eggshell. Even though he cannot read the dragon's thoughts, it wears a look of concern, unsure if it can step on the shell without falling again. As it hesitates, Rosner takes the chance to truly look at it. It does not take long before a tear forms in his eye. Even if it is a dragon, and one of the most dangerous of them all, its innocence right now reminds him of a large pup. Casey. Her memory floods back to him, her loving attitude and her irritated one when she wanted to be left alone, her hanging by her tail, mutilated. He takes the back of his hand across his eye, wiping away the tear, and with it, the memory. He cannot focus on that right now. They must figure out how to deal with this dragon. But how does one do so? Its scales, Rosner notices, are a blend of the charred earth it stands on and its own egg. Behind it, the dragon's tail seems to brush against pieces of shell absent-mindedly. The spade tip occasionally flicks up a small piece of shell or dirt. For a brief second, it spreads its wings, allowing Rosner to note the lighter skin tone which stretches across the wings, however slight it is. A minute passes, and Rosner begins to wonder if the creature is going to do anything. As if answering his thoughts, it explodes with a sudden burst of energy. It takes a dive face first into the ground, but unlike before, gets up immediately and tries again. It manages to find solid ground and bolts towards Kadoric, who stares at the beast with wide eyes. His siblings watch in shock as the dragon dives into his chest, knocking him on his back. The two hear the air escapes their brother's lungs when he hits the ground. They run over and peer down at him. "Kadoric, are you all right?" Asra asks. He responds with a finger pointing to the dragon now lying on his chest. Through gritted teeth, he breathes. "He is heavy." "Of course." A man chuckles behind them, putting Rosner on edge more than his siblings. He knows this voice. In truth, he had hoped he would never hear it again, but he knew it was pointless. Still, of all places, why here? Why now? And how? Together, they turn around. Walking up to them is the village's old man, Polfrey. Rosner stands up and moves between Polfrey and his siblings. "How did you get here?" he demands. The old man chuckles, unfazed. "My dear boy, there are several things I did not mention last you and I talked." From behind him, Rosner hears Asra ask from his brother's side, "You two have talked?" The suspicion in his sister's voice makes him cringe. "On a few occasions, yes, my dear," Polfrey answers, inviting himself into their side conversation. It takes Rosner a second to register what Polfrey says. On a few occasions. He thinks back to when he had encountered the old man. He remembers feeling his stare when he walked through the village, and remembers his strange presence in Casper's shop. but he only recalls talking to the old man when Palfrey stood a small distance from where Casey hung, which was only a few hours ago. "Who are you?" Rosner sputters. Palfrey, standing over Dork with the dragon now resting on his lap, keeps his focus on the two below him, but asks Rosner, "My boy, I do not understand. You and I, we only spoke once. You said we spoken on a few occasions." The old man cocks his head slightly to one side. I think you might be right," he chuckles. "But once you get as old as I am, you can forget some details." Rosner stands his ground. "We only talked a few hours ago. Is your short-term memory that poor?" Palfrey mumbles a few strange, incoherent words before an odd sensation befalls Rosner. His anger subsides, and soon he forgets why he is angry to begin with. He exchanges a confused glance with Astra, and can tell she is not buying what he is telling them. Rosner, however, seems more inclined to at least listen to what he has to say. "So, why are you here anyway?" The old man ignores Rosner for a moment and instead asks Kodoric for permission to see the dragon. Kodoric looks at Astra and Rosner with uncertainty, but gives his approval. Palfrey sits beside Kodoric and ushers the dragon into his lap. For an instant, the dragon recoils at the old man's touch, but he gradually accepts it. Only after he curls on his lap does Palfrey speak. "I am different from you three. I have been keeping an eye on all of you for so long, hoping, praying for you so that the prophecy may be fulfilled." Astra finally finds her voice. "What do you mean?" "A conflict has been long coming, and I have been sent to search for those that can lead us to victory. I believe you three are that victory. I am sure of it." "What are you talking about? And what prophecy?" Rosner asks. Palfrey runs his fingers over the back of the dragon, as though he is lulling him to sleep. "My dear boy, I am a sorcerer. You have entered a realm such that myth becomes reality." All three of them share a similar look of surprise. In Rosner's case, it is not because myth is becoming reality. That was proven when the egg hatched. What catches his attention is Palfrey being a sorcerer. Rosner shakes his head. "I still do not understand why you are here." "It is simple, really," Palfrey explains. "There are two conditions that a dragon's egg can hatch. Those that are not destined to have a rider take several years to do so. On the other hand, those that are destined to have a rider sit idly until someone fit to be their companion comes along. This, unfortunately, is momentary. Dragons have a history of killing their companions if they are not completely bonded. This bond is unbreakable, effectively sealing their kinship, but it must be done by a powerful magic user." "And you can do that?" Kodoric asks. A hint of concern dances on his lips. Palfrey lets loose a smile. "That, my child, is the reason for my presence." Rosner does not know why, but the smile sends a chill down his spine. Still, he remains silent. Palfrey ushers the dragon to Kodoric's side, where it assumes a curled position. "Are you ready?" "Wait!" Everyone turns to Rosner. He stares at everyone, mimicking their surprise. That was supposed to be in his head. He begins to get this odd feeling, and he starts to remember how he felt when Palfrey first showed up. Something is not right about this, but he does not know what. I am not sure about this. Godoric shakes his head. Is fine, Rosner. He then turns to Palfrey and nods. Okay. First, a name. Palfrey tells him. Nightwing? Palfrey looks at Godoric, surprised. Really? Are you sure? Godoric looks at the dragon for a moment. He is slow to answer, but eventually says, It seems fitting. The old man nods, sending another chill up his spine. Why is he making him so uncomfortable? That it does. Let us begin. Immediately, a thin stream of black mist drifts from each of Palfrey's hands towards Godoric and Nightwing. The tendrils stop and hover a few inches from either of their faces before switching directions and meeting in between the two of them. They begin to pool into each other, slowly creating a dense black mass the size of a fist. It then descends, breaking off from the tendrils, which dissipate after being severed. When the black ball reaches the ground, it passes straight through, like a rock through water, except the ground does not ripple. Rosalind looks around, expecting something additional. Astra seems to have the same mindset, but she voices her thoughts. Is that it? He nods and appears to say yes, but is overtaken by a thunderous, Stop! Rosner looks around. Initially, he sees nothing moving, not like he has for a couple hours. The voice is Palfrey's, yet it does not come from his lips. Rosner looks back at the old man. Apparently, he must look like he is expecting something from him, because Palfrey shrugs his shoulders. But instead of the confused look Rosner is expecting from him, he smiles. The two make eye contact, and the old man says, Guess I have been caught. Rosner narrows his eyes at the old man. What does he mean by... His thoughts drift as movement behind the man catches his eye. Walking down the crater behind Palfrey is... Wait, this makes no sense. Why are there two Palfreys? As the new Palfrey gets closer, the one sitting in front of Rosner says over his shoulder, You're too late, my friend. You're no friend of mine, you soulless creature. A small chuckle escapes the old man's lips. You do not recognize me, do you? And I began to question if you might eventually break through my spell and invite yourself to our little party. I'm quite disappointed in you, Palfrey. First of 7 of the 7th. The Palfrey that has just arrived stops in his tracks. His eyes narrow slits on his old face. So, that was you. Who are you? Soon, my friend. Soon, says the first Palfrey. He smiles wickedly before his body disperses into black smoke and sinks into the earth. His clothes lay in a pile where he stood. The 3 siblings turn to the remaining Palfrey. He stands there, staring at the pile of clothes, his eyes unreadable. Rosner opens his mouth, but is silenced by the old man holding up a single finger. Looking at Godoric, he asks, Are you two bound? When Godoric hesitates to answer, Palfrey asks in a more aggressive tone, Did he bind you? Palfrey says he as though it disgusts him to say it. Godoric cannot seem to find his tongue, so he nods. He does not even finish the motion before Palfrey strides over to him. We need to go. Now. Nightwing looks like he is going to strike Palfrey, but the old man waves his hand, and the creature goes still. He grabs Godoric's arm and pulls him to his feet like a pebble about to be skipped across a stream. Unable to stop himself, Rosner grabs Palfrey's arm. No one is going anywhere. Palfrey laughs. My dear boy, you do not understand what kind of danger your brother is in now. Rosner stares into the old man's eyes. Such power, like two swirling masses of pure energy. For a moment, Rosner loses himself in them. His body wants to fall at this man's feet, but his mind fights the urge. Through gritted teeth, Rosner says, "Then enlighten us." The old man looks around before returning his gaze to Rosner. He pulls his arm from Rosner's grip. "Very well. But we do need to move. This will not last much longer." He lets go of Kadoric and waves a hand over Nightwing before walking towards their house. Nightwing continues to growl. Can dragons growl? For a moment, then backs away from Pulfrey in fear. Asura looks around. "What do you mean this will not last much longer?" The moment the words leave her mouth, a gentle breeze blows and the bird above their heads lets out a slow screech. Rosner's eyes drift to the creature, then back to where Pulfrey last stood. When he cannot find him, Rosner spins around until he spots the man at the top of the crater. For an old man, he sure can move fast. Rosner taps Asura's shoulder and Kandoric's arm, then runs after the man. He hears his siblings close on his tail. "So, why is our brother in trouble again?" Asura has been repeating questions for the past hour. Rosner thinks the horses are even getting annoyed. Pulfrey sighs. "Like I said, that creature that bound the dragon and your brother is an Umbermore, a death shade, and if I'm not mistaken, a very powerful one. I just hope it is not who I think it is now." "And who would that be?" The old man straightens himself. "No one you should concern yourself with." Asura shakes her head. "I disagree. If it affects my brother, then I believe it concerns me." Rosner steps forward. "Besides, how do we know we can trust you? Maybe you're just another creature we should avoid." "I understand your confusion, but you must believe me. Your brother is in terrible danger. I need to do what I can to prevent what is bound to come." Pulfrey looks at Rosner. "Maybe this will help. Remember when I confronted you under your arch?" Rosner nods. "Well, I thanked you for returning my ring to me. You were confused about how I retrieved it from your pocket. Does this help?" Pulfrey holds up the ring in front of Rosner. He must have seen something in Rosner's eyes because the old man puts his hand down. "Of course, there is one thing that is still missing." Godoric looks up from his seat against one of the stall doors. "And what is that?" Rosner notes Pulfrey's hesitation. For a moment there is silence, but Pulfrey does answer. "We have you and your brother, but we still need the third. And Asura crumbles to the floor. Rosner and Kandoric rush to her side, finding her unconscious. They both look at Pulfrey with concern. Dark pockets form under his eyes. "Well, I guess we found the third." "Third what?" Rosner yells. "My sister just passed out and all you can say is we found the third?" Pulfrey takes long strides to the barn door. The horses seem to back away from him as he passes by. Or are they bowing? "I need to go." "Stop!" To Rosner's surprise, the old man stops. "First you say you must leave with our brother. Now you are leaving him after our sister falls unconscious for no apparent reason? Who are you? And why did that thing, or whatever you called it..." Pulfrey rounds on Rosner. "Enough!" Everything seems to hold its breath, from the horses to the wood holding up the barn. You do not understand the danger the three of you are in. Nor do you understand how much I am risking right now talking to you. I understand you have many questions, but if I do not act now, your sister will die, then your brother, and finally all hope at stopping the chaos that is ready to burst forth. Then he throws the doors open and strides down the path. To where? Rosner cannot begin to guess. Rosner does not bother to think about it either. He is too busy thinking about the old man's words. Everything he said confused him. What danger is he talking about? What risks? Why does Asra lay near death? And Kadoric? What chaos? And why will hope die with them?